From the largest country in the world to the craziest country in the world, this is Communist Regime Tier List. At its height, it was the largest country on the planet in terms of area and ruled by some of the most baddest dictators of our time. Founded in 1922 by the OG communists and dissolved in 1991, in its small 69-year-long existence, it came up with some of the best communist policies of all time. From famines to Gulag, then World War II to Cold War, it was the poster boy of an oppressive surveillance state that ended up with a kill count of over 100 million people. Solid S tier. Born out of a civil war and until a couple years ago the most populated country on the planet, it is kind of the modern poster boy of whatever left of communism in the world. Founded by the ruthless Bal dictator Mao Zedong in 1949 after ruining the crazy civil war, in the next 2 decades he implemented some of the craziest policies of all time. From the Great Leap Forward to the Cultural Revolution, by the time Mao kicked the bucket, he accumulated the highest personal kill count in history. But after his death, a completely different person took charge and implemented something called communist policies with Chinese characteristics and changed the course of the country to become the superpower of today. Not to mention the kill count also reduced drastically. So Mao's China S tier, China after that D tier. Arguably the craziest country in the world, run by the scariest big fat dictator Kim Jong-un. Founded by his grandfather in 1948 after the proxy Korean War by the two superpowers at the time, it is still under the same family business and has been for the last 84 years. Kim's family is ruling with iron fist and absolute oppression, even declaring them some god. But all this control amounted to nothing but poverty and no economic growth at all. His people live in absolute hell and there are not even that many lights in that country. But Kim somehow managed to make one of the largest military in the world and one of the few countries having nuclear weapons. A fact that keeps Donald Trump up at night. This country is only getting 8 years because it got nuclear weapons. And apart from that, everything is pure shit. A tiny island off the coast of Florida that kept America up at night for 2 weeks straight and almost started World War III. Founded in 1959 by two handsome revolutionaries after years of hide and seek with the US-backed Batista government, Castro went on to make Cuba a Marxist-Leninist-style communist utopia by nationalizing every industry under government control. Like any other communist dictator, Castro ruled with iron fist and the whole ruling thing was under family business until 2018. Cuba's crazy communist policies made the country even more poor and unequal. And in some instances, even doctors were making less money than a taxi driver. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, Castro tried to up his game on the world stage but eventually failed. B tier. Along with the previous two, Vietnam is one of the few remaining communist countries in the world with an extremely complicated history. Founded in 1945 by this guy after declaring independence from France, which kicked off an almost decade-long war that obviously ended with Vietnam's victory. Because the last time French won a war, it was under, Napoleon. Anyways, after beating the shit out of France, it got into a civil war style split based on ideologies which turned into a proxy war between two superpowers. America ultimately lost the war and Vietnam reunited under one-party Marxist-Leninist communism. It is still going strong till this day and with a rapidly growing economy and tourism, obviously after implementing capitalism, but anyways, it's going okay. C tier. Solid C tier. Kind of an underdog in the list, but it also won against the stupid French and gained independence around the same time as Vietnam. Founded by this guy whose name obviously I can't pronounce, like Vietnam, it also got involved in a civil war which turned into a proxy war for the big players and again eventually the communist one. Fun fact, Laos is the most bombed country per capita in the world. But anyways, after taking over the country, he brutally prosecuted the ones who opposed him during the war and in most of the cases sent them to so-called re-education camps. The country is still growing strong as the last tiny one-party communist state. Solid C tier. The Mongols, once the largest contiguous empire in the world, founded by the world's biggest sperm donor, Genghis Khan. By the start of 1900s, it was reduced to a powerless, tiny little country, heavily influenced by King China. But after the forming of Communist Soviet Union, it helped Mongolia become the second communist country in history. Founded in 1924 by this guy, who was backed by the Russians, essentially it was just a Soviet satellite state. After the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, it peacefully transitioned into a multi-party democracy without any crazy coups or wars or any dramatic stuff. Seriously, after the death of Genghis, it has become pretty boring. It is the shortest communist regime in our list and perhaps the most tragic one. Founded by this guy in 1975 after overthrowing the US backed Republic government, in the next 5 years, he implemented the most brutal communist policies of all time. He started something called Year Zero, which aimed to reinitiate everything. I mean, everything from scratch. He aimed to create an immediate utopia by evacuating cities entirely and forcing the entire urban population into rural forced agricultural labor. He rejected money, private property, religion, and even went on to abolish the currency. As you can guess, he killed everyone who disagreed with him and even made killing fields and prison to fast track the process. His rule wiped out nearly 2 million of the 8 million people who lived in that country. It all ended with the Vietnamese invasion in 1979. The rest of the communist country are mostly Soviet puppet state except few of them, and as you can guess, it all belongs to the DTR.